Hello and welcome back to the Guns and Glory show. It is May 31st, 2025. I'm out in the cabin. I just picked up three 2x6 10-footers. I was setting up to build a wall right about there off them three rafters because I need to hold up the roof. I'm going to knock that concrete block wall out of there and replace it with this stack of studs down there. It'll make it a whole lot more cozy in the wintertime in that bathroom. First thing we need to do is figure out how long that board needs to be. Well, I've got the bottom plate just sitting there, and I've got a 2x4 chunk on that to represent the top plate. Now, as it turns out, I didn't need a 10-footer. An 8-foot would have worked, but I had no way to know that. So I grabbed this 8-footer to see if that would work, and when marked from the back side, that's where the mark turned out, and the squiggly mark was the other one that we just cut. Oh well, at least I've got three 2-foot sections of 2x6 hanging out. They're pretty useful. So we find out our mark is at 95 and just shy of 5/8. We'll transfer that to the 2x6, square it, and cut it off right there. At first I had envisioned putting three studs together like a wall and then raising that under the roof, but that's not going to work because the geometry of the boards should have seen that coming. Oh well. So what I decided to do is just put the top and bottom plate on the ground and use these plywood standoffs that I made for the electrical outlets and switch boxes. That'll hold. This is a good example of a place where you need to know whether you want to use a nail or whether you want to use a screw. A nail is for shear strength. That is, if you've attached this board with a nail, you expect it to take an impact or a lot of force from the side, or fail from that direction, you need it to not just shear that nail off. Whereas if you were to attach this with a screw, it'll pull it together very tightly. But if it takes that type of force, it'll break the screw off. Sometimes you want both. In this case, we want to use a nail. And since we're not going to come in from the bottom and stand it up, we're going to have to toe nail it. You want 3 for a 2x6, 2 for a 2x4, 4 for a 2x8, and so on. And if you want to get it back out, there's these duplex nails. It's got 2 heads on it, so you can pull with it. I better hold it with both hands. Ought to look like that when you're finished with it, and check it with a level. Ironically enough, this is a great place to show an example of where a screw would work better than a nail. Because if you were to attach that with a nail and it start to come apart, it's going to want to pull itself out, whereas the screws are going to keep it nice and tight. Put 6 screws in it like that, 3 on each side. And as I was looking at this, I figured, you know what, I got 3 sections of 2-foot 2x6 left over. I'm going to go on up to the top and spread the weight out a little bit. And sometimes when you're working on an old building, you run into some pretty neat stuff. This isn't plumb, which is like level but vertical, like up and down. You can see from the back of the building, from the side, that the gable is headed towards the front quite a bit, and believe it or not, that plywood that I stuck on there lines up pretty well vertically with the opposite side of that rafter, so we're going to do it backwards. Say that brace ought to hold it. We'll do that 3 times, and I'll put a little cross brace between the 3 studs. I was just going to cut a 2x4 in half and put a couple of braces on it, but I didn't want to cut the 2x4 in half, so that's what I come up with. And I don't think that's going to go anywhere, so I'm going to go get lunch and we'll knock that block out of there. First thing I need to do, I guess, is get that piece of plywood off of there. And this is the gable end. So this side's going to come out first. That's the load bearing wall. Now, I've already taken last year, I took a skill saw with a diamond blade and I went around that whole perimeter on both sides, inside and out, and I already made the cut. So it should come out quite easily. I may make a vertical cut right about there to make it easier to get this wall out, because I'd like to leave that one standing and put it in there second, just for strength reasons. I want that wall to be supporting that corner. We'll go ahead and cut that off on that line that I put in there with the level, although it's not level. I measured how far off the bubble was on the top of the blocks on the inside, and then transferred that to the outside. Hopefully it works. Oh yeah, and I don't have to go very deep, so I lowered the deck so we don't cut stuff we don't need to. Yeah, that turned out pretty good, eh? You betcha. That's my Diamond Mason concrete stone blade for the DeWalt circular saw. I gotta make a cut right up there, and that'll separate the two walls. Now, I said just a minute ago that was already cut, and I thought it was, but once I got that chunk of plywood off there, I realized I was mistaken. Well, it's cut now. Now we're on the inside, and I got a cut made there. It's a couple inches away from that mortar, but that'll probably just shatter. I'm not too worried about it. Now we get the motivator. Well, that would be this gentleman right here. I actually found that thing on the side of the road in Waterford, I think. It was downstate somewhere. Anyway, like I said, we're gonna get that wall out of there and leave that other one standing for now. I don't really remember at this time why that cavity exists. However, I made sure to insulate it, and I put that 2x6 on the inside of there, and it's just held in with the concrete. I gotta go to Menards and get a bag of concrete, and then get a couple of pieces of wood and make a form. It'll just be level with the top of the block and just under the top of that styrofoam. The yellow one is the propane feed, and that other gray wire is the service entrance wire that runs next to the tunnel and into the solar box. I forgot to put it in the concrete, which is why it's next to the tunnel. It's not a very big spot in the wall, but it filled that thing right up. That's nuts. All right, I got that form in place. Well, I got it cut. Now I just gotta brace it up there so it doesn't move. You can mix up that concrete and build the wall in the morning. I had to change the way the propane line goes out because I need to be able to plug it into that wall right there. And unfortunately, I won't be able to get that yellow part all the way under the concrete, but it'll wind up inside that wall. I got that whole thing cleaned up and vacuumed out. There's a layer of foam under it. I figured that wasn't a very good foundation, so I dug that out of there too. I got that concrete in there. It turned out pretty nice. Got it leveled up good. Come back up here in the morning and frame this side in. Then I'll knock that wall out and then build that one. Hi, Poppy. That board came off of there effortlessly, and now those two are in the house. I'm gonna have to do something else with that as far as to cover it up, but I can't leave it that way. I'm not too worried about that, but while I'm at it, I might as well just make whatever I do go over there too. So, as it turns out, just by chance, that little thing was sticking out, and I'm gonna leave it there because I can butt this wall right up against it, and it'll kind of line everything up naturally. Sometimes you get a freebie. I suppose the best way to deal with this is just make a little form and pour some more concrete as like a little curb. And I'll stick these in there because they've only got another about a foot to go before it gets to the house, and I can bury it from there. Well, framing that in was pretty basic. Nothing was square, but whatever. It's not a big deal. The only real fight will be putting that electric wire up through the top of that cavity. That wire is in place. That's from the off-grid side. It's not too bad to put it in, but you still got to earn it. Now it's time to knock that side out. They had that tied to the framing with that strap and that one, so I'm gonna grab the saber saw and get rid of that while it's a little bit easier. All right, let's give that a couple love taps and see what we got. I'm watching this water as I hit that, and I don't like what I see, so I'm gonna stop and see what I'm about to do first before I go any further doing it. Okay, here's the thing. There isn't a leg right there, right? It's just that little board holding that stuck in with a couple of tacks, and then it's got to go around that window, talking about the vertical forces, and back up. And there's still a lot of force on that. I believe this contraption that I made here, this wall, will hold it up, but I think it's going to flex too far. That's the problem. I don't want to bend the roof because I don't have it leaking right now. I'd like to keep it that way. So I think I'm going to knock that corner out down there and put a vertical stud in it to hold it there for a minute, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. Well, that went smoothly. That only took about a minute, but it's the wall is sitting on this section right through there, and the other stuff's just kind of floating there. So we'll get that reinforced up a bit, and the rest of it won't move. This is the critical point right here. Okay, so I got a solution that I believe will work. I've got that stud in there, and it's under tension. It's holding up what that brick wall was holding up. Let me back up out of here, because that stud's gonna sit there until I finish building that wall. And I'm gonna stick it in like that, and then wedge it in like that, and we'll knock that out of the way as it trades the load off one to the other. That came right out. Pretty happy with it. That stud is holding up the whole corner, minus what my improv wall did behind us. And this is just kind of floating. That's okay, because when I put this wall in here and knock that out, the whole thing will come down on them both. I just got to be careful with the vertical measurements. Got to clean this up and then build that wall. And if you're working in an area like this, make a screen or something to plug that. You'll be happy you did. Looking like that'll work just fine. I just got to drive that in and replace that slave stud with the wall. That's working out pretty well. Just slow and steady. I had to pick it up a little bit right there, so I used the shovel and the block there as a fulcrum. The idea is to just knock that slave stud out with the wall as I'm coming in with it. Well, I got that in place, and I got two little nails holding that sheathing on. I'll go around and nail it together, and then I'll see if I got enough wood in the trailer to put that one together or not. I don't know. The only piece that I had around here that's big enough used to be buried at the intersection of the range and the neighbor's driveway to keep it from collapsing. So I went and got it. There's enough left over to take care of that bottom section, but I think I'm about done today. The mosquitoes are starting to come out. Yeah, I like the wood a lot better. Be better for insulation too, easier to run stuff through the wall. I'll close that up in the morning, along with a bunch of sealant, a couple extra nails to make it a little bit sturdier, and take a chisel and knock that piece off of there, get it level again. Same thing with that one. See, when I was driving it in there, it started to just come apart, so I'm like, no, I'm gonna quit. We'll just use strips to make up the gaps. No doubt that that wall worked that I put in there, but it would have worked better if I could have put it in here closer to the wall underneath this cabinet. The trouble with that is the cabinet's plywood, and I wasn't going to cut a hole in it to put a support in it, and I couldn't just put the support on the cabinet. It wouldn't ever hold that much weight. It was designed to hold towels. As soon as I get that buttoned up, I can take that wall down and clean this place up again. All right, I got them panels installed. This corner is done. I got to put the sealant on the inside. And I've got so much of that stuff left over, I think I'm just going to go around the entire building on the outside like I did on the inside. Twice, because this stuff will shrink a little bit and then crack. and from the inside. Haven't got the sealant on it yet. I think on this section, since that's only about 3.5 inches, I'm gonna fill that section with concrete about 4 inches deep. And that'll protect that line forever. I would say, by judging by the cracks in the sealant, that I did okay. That would tell me how much this building moved, if at all, which is nothing in that corner. And I'd say we're pretty solid everywhere. The only thing that it broke really was that board started to let go. So I quit while you're ahead. Yeah, a little bit of concrete. I'm not gonna have to worry about that at all. That wall is in and done. The temporary wall has been removed, and I'm going across this whole face of it with a belt sander to flatten it out a little bit, because there was a couple of places that were kind of bad. That did not line up how I wanted it to, but that's okay, we'll fix it. I figured, you know what? I got the time, because I haven't got enough money to work on this thing right now, but I can't stop working on it. I'm just gonna go around the whole thing with a belt sander where it's reasonable and make sure everything is nice and flat so it won't break a drywall sheet if you tie it down with the screws.